Hi, all right. We're back. Jack of all trades. Got another great episode in store for you guys today. Uh, I'm here with Jack Newman at Jack Viking on Twitter. You can reach me at First Gator on Twitter. Be sure to go over to our podcast, Jack of all trades. Just look for the logo. We've got some information about Bitcoin over there. Today, we're going to do a little introduction to Bitcoin and share some information on where we look for our information. Jack, so you've been in Bitcoin for a while. You've been researching it for a while. Where are some of the places you like to go to get some information about Bitcoin?
Yeah, and that I I like that as kind of like people talk about, oh, this is a elevator speech, or somebody comes up to you. This video here is directed more to people who are either they're getting into, checking out our stuff, and then, here's a jumping off point for how I view Bitcoin, and or they're kind of new to Bitcoin, and it's like I don't want to sit here and get into the intricacies or the current events of Bitcoin, but just more like why Bitcoin or why not Bitcoin. And so I'm going to share my screen here, and you got that. So I don't know how what I really like podcasts. I'm 50 years old. I like to go for a walk and listen to podcasts. So it's informative, and you can kind of multitask. But people like to read, and I was talking to someone the other day who's into Bitcoin a little bit, and I was talking about like my my favorite guy these days is a guy by the name of Parker Lewis, and he was in the hedge fund business, years ago. From what I understand, his well, what a lot of what he was doing was in 2008, 9, 10, analyzing somewhere in there, analyzing what QE, quantitative easing, was doing in the to the market, how it affected the markets, how it affected money, how it affected interest rates, and how his hedge fund and their company could make money around that. And he was led to, in his investigation of quantitative easing, just the insanity of it, and how, geez, this doesn't seem like a great idea. And that led him, more down the line of uh, what we call sound money, which money that just can't be spun up out of nothing, like the Federal Reserve does, and all central banks do worldwide, through debt creation, blah blah blah. So that led him to Bitcoin, and in my I learned about Bitcoin as in like, oh, the price of Bitcoin's really going up. If I buy some, can I make a bunch of money? And then I got interested in it that way. But then that led me to more um, questions on what is money. How is our money in the world, and how accountable it is. And then I started listening to guys like Parker Lewis, and I always knew I didn't love QE and what it did to markets, and he does a better job of like explaining it, and explaining how Bitcoin fits with people.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, like, I know for me, I was looking at Bitcoin, and then I'm following the price, kind of watching it like a stock, and I did buy some, and it didn't work out that great for me. But anyway, that's besides the point. But I was more looking at it as a price, just the price. But there's more to Bitcoin, isn't it? It's a limited supply of Bitcoin. Isn't that the point? They can't just print more Bitcoin. So that's how it's more like a gold standard, or how does it work?
Yeah, I mean, the long and short of it is it's a fixed supply, or it's a fixed supply schedule, and one that is approaching zero. So it comes out, at a regular interval, and that is already done. And at the end, which is like 2140, there's only going to be 21 million Bitcoins. And so, and the fact that the supply schedule is known and reducing as time goes on, gives it that sound money quality, where as opposed to our United States dollar and other things, the as we've seen with coronavirus and all the stimulus packages and bailouts, the Federal Reserve and the central banks can just create money out of thin air. They brag about it. They say that's how we're going to take care of all you. We're just going to keep printing money and give it to the people we think we want to succeed. And that's the truth of the matter. Whereas Bitcoin is just a fixed supply. And if the money is like that, that sound money, then we get an accurate value price signaling. So the value of something isn't, if there's a hurricane somewhere that affects the production of a crop or the production of oil, like the market should signal that, and the price of that thing should go up. And when a central planner like the Federal Reserve tries to offset that by changing their behaviors, what they're doing is they're muting these price signals. And anyway, that's and that's kind of what the big attraction of Bitcoin is, other than the fact that it's easily, like you talked about gold standard, like whereas Bitcoin, you can send it over over computer. You can send people money from North Korea to Iran if you have internet connection. So it's uncensorable. It's highly portable. Different than other monies. Whereas a government money is highly censorable, and gold is not portable at all. But I'm not trying to give you my long spiel of Bitcoin here. I'm in this sense, I'm trying to point you to a couple outlets where you can go, learn from kind of where I learned, and you can kind of look at some of the arguments people have against Bitcoin. And that's where this Parker Lewis, I just want to go over. It's like he's got these articles that he wrote in this series called Gradually Then Suddenly, Bitcoin. And it's like Bitcoin is common sense, and Bitcoin is a rally cry. These are articles. And then he gets into Bitcoin obsoletes all other money. And that's where we start talking about how it does a better job of being money. If money is a language that we use to express value, how Bitcoin is better at that than all other monies. Then he has an article. A lot of people are like, "Oh, Bitcoin, it's criminals use it, and it's just for money laundering and criminals." And he writes an article, "Bitcoin is not for criminals." And then another argument is, "Oh, the government will step in and stop that if it ever gets too big, and you're wasting your time." And he writes an article, "Bitcoin cannot be banned." And at the bottom of this, it says, it says the audio version by the Cryptoconomy. And you can go to the podcast, and the Cryptoconomy is Guy Swan, and it's been changed to a podcast. He changed the name of it to Bitcoin Audible. And so I'm sure if you just go to your wherever you get podcasts, whether it's Anchor FM or iTunes or whatever, if you go to Siri or Alexa and just say play Bitcoin Audible, and you can get to there. And then he's got another article, Bitcoin's not a pyramid scheme, and he does a very good job. And it's like, I can't, in a little intro video like this, where I'm just kind of give you kind of where I stand, and in the future, I want to talk about Bitcoin as a market, as an investment. I'm going to talk about Bitcoin options in the future, very near future, and how you can use those to protect your investment, not how we're going to gamble and make a bunch of money. Like I don't look at Bitcoin as like a way to make a bunch of money. I look at it as a way to save the money you already have. And as an early adopter, there's a chance that it can go to zero. But I think where we sit today, the risk of it going to zero is paid off in the fact that it could go much, much higher if it ever becomes money. And then you scroll through here, and he's got a bunch of great articles. Bitcoin fixes it. It's not too slow. And this is only one page, and I'm not going to scroll through all those, but I would just say, if you could check out Parker Lewis, follow him on Twitter, follow Guy Swan on Twitter, which he's at Crypto Economy is his Twitter handle. Listen, to these podcasts if possible. Follow up, ask me questions. But as an intro to Bitcoin, I can see for me, when somebody asks, I'm like, I do a terrible job of explaining it. I tend to ramble like I'm doing right now. Go read Parker Lewis.
Right. So there you have it. We just wanted to do a little, get some information out there on Bitcoin. Be sure to check out Parker Lewis and Guy Swan, like Jack's saying, a lot of information over there. And hit up our podcast. Just look for the logo, like I was saying. And if this is something you're interested in, be sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button. And thanks for tuning in. And be sure to tune in next time on Jack of All Trades.